listing and do no marketing, except you can do one-on-one. So which means that if I have an exclusive listing, I could phone you or email you and just say, hey, just to let you know, I have this exclusive listing, right? In case you have anybody.
Yeah, just within that company.
But it has to be one-on-one. You can't do a blast to the company.
No.
But you could because if it's within the company, because it's a company listing. So she was concerned that, how do I tie them up? And she was going last night. Then I said, okay, so you're going tonight to do what? She says, well, I want to get it measured up. But she says, what can I do? Because they don't want it listed until the beginning to the middle of March. I said, do an exclusive listing. Because that way with an exclusive, and what you have to understand, that's what I explained to her, is it's great that they said they want to use her, but technically they're not her client yet. So you really can't give them advice on anything right now. You could do a presentation, which she did as a listing presentation, and said, if you hire me, these are the things that I will do. But you can't actually give any further advice until they're your client. So I said to her, I said, go in and explain that, one, you're going to do the room measurements. That's great. You are going to get the power of attorney's identification. So do your FINTRAC, and then also do an exclusive listing until the end of March. And because if you don't have that exclusive listing, and explain it to her this way, if you don't have that exclusive listing, then you actually haven't hired me to give you any advice, to give you any support during the transition of getting this ready. So that is something I just want to make everybody aware of, is that you can use an exclusive listing for that, as long as you don't do any marketing.
And it seems that it prepares you for how serious they are to use you. Because if you go in there and say, listen, let's do an exclusive, sign here, and automatically they're like, oh, I don't want to sign anything. Now you know where that relationship is.
Exactly, right? And the exclusive listing is exactly that. It now is a client representative situation where you now can give proper advice. Where if they don't, then technically you can't give them any further advice. You're allowed to do your listing presentation, but beyond that, then it becomes implied relationship, and they could turn around and go, well, the agent told me that, we should do this, and that cost me money. And you're going to go, I didn't say anything. And they go, yeah, here it is. And you go, you shouldn't have, because you don't have the documentation showing that you're representing. So, absolutely utilize that exclusive listing. You just can't market. That's all.
Yeah. How important is it to actually go there? Because I think some of these conversations happens over the phone. Or by email. But I feel that something like that, I would rather go and visit and face to face and have the paperwork ready to show them and look at the house and just see how ready they are. Because everybody does this, a lot of talking. Oh, we want a list, we want to do this, we want to do that.
Yeah.
But once you have the paperwork in front of them and they're like, okay, well, let's get this going. Oh, hold on. I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah. So that's what I did on both cases with the houses in Oakville. So and I used the exclusive listing to say, like, I can't give you any more guidance without having our formal relationship here. And so what we use the exclusive listing, because that gives me the authority to go ahead and give you advice, recommend people to come in and, where are you going to get the bin? Who's going to come in and declutter? You can't actually refer anybody to them because you don't have that relationship yet. So I've done it a couple times recently, and just by explaining that to them, they were fine.
What is your previous clients?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, they were referred to me from a client, but that,
still,
and it was a situation exactly that. They were power of attorney for mom that was now in a home, and they both lived out of town, and so, but I wasn't going to go ahead and start you know, recommending and doing all of that and bringing my crew in, let's say.
Yeah.
Without having something to say, okay, and right in my MLS, right in my exclusive listing on Schedule A, I put in there that the parties agree that the exclusive listing will be transferred over to an MLS listing with an asking price of such and such, once the property is ready to be shown,
Gotcha.
That's written in the exclusive listing.
right in the exclusive listing.
And are you able to put up a sign with an exclusive listing? So there's nothing outside?
That's marketing,
That's marketing. Okay.
yeah. So no type of marketing.
Even with the word exclusive on it, no.
No.
Because we used to do that.
That's,
back
yeah,
then.
you can't do that.
And with an exclusive listing, is there a time frame that you're allowed? So you can have it for 6 months.
For 6 months, yeah.
So it's super important to do that.
Yes, yeah, really important to do that. And again, it does two things. One, especially if you know, it commits them to you. And it puts you in a position that you can give proper advice without getting in trouble from RICO. Right? And the other thing it does is if anybody does approach them, then they can honestly say, you know what, we're yeah, deal with my agent. We're already engaged in a relationship. Here's their card. And I always leave cards with them and just say, just in case someone, as soon as you put the bin in the driveway, there's a neighbor that's knocking, there's, you know, somebody across the street, there's somebody driving down the street, goes, oh, you doing renovations or are you thinking of selling?
Yeah.
Right? So really important to make sure that you can utilize that exclusive listing. I just wanted to, you know, let everybody know that and how to utilize it and how to explain it.
I have a question regarding expired listings.
Okay. And so if your listing says no, and anybody does contact them, all you need to ask and let your seller know, okay, this is what's probably going to happen, but I'm showing you that on our system, it says do not contact after expiry.
Right, yeah, and I do have that,
Right,
yes.
Expiry and
And
cancellation. is the
yeah,
same thing?
yeah. Good, right? And so let your seller know if that's the case, then if somebody does, and they will, take the information, make a note that this person showed up at your door or whatever, send it to me. Because then we're gonna send it to the broker of record and we're gonna send it to the board. And we're basically gonna lodge a complaint because they're violating the rules. That's the issue. But what happens is sellers aren't made aware of that. So they just think it's like,
Oh, you
Yeah,
get it here.
yeah, right, because they all know, you know, I got a buyer, or, you know, I know your place didn't sell, but I know I can get it sold for you. Here's our package. This is what we can do for you. And it's a violation of the rules.
Yeah.
And there's lots of agents that do it,
Yeah,
but the consumer isn't made aware that actually, so I always say to myself, this is what's gonna happen. And if they do come, understand that they're already breaking the rules. So do you, first of all, want somebody that breaks the rules representing you? I don't think I would. You know, how trustworthy are they going to
Had
be?
they had a buyer, they
yeah.
would have shown it when
Exactly.
it was listed too. They didn't.
And then the
So-
second thing I asked them is, let them give you the stuff. Just say, thank you very much. Make a note how it was delivered. You know, if you get an email or someone drops off a package. And all I ask is let me come by, pick those things up from you with an email from you just stating, Scott, I don't know what's going on, but all these people, this agent showed up saying, you know, And yet I know we signed the form saying I did not want to be contacted. If we had that, it goes right to Rico and right to the board. Because that is a strict violation, but it has to come from the consumer saying this is what took place.
Right, like you need
Yeah.
a thread
Yeah.
of email
Yeah,
or text.
yeah,
anything.
or, this person came to my door, here's the
Yeah.
business card, they came to my door at this time with this package. And said, it's not like they were door knocking the whole street, it was specific at that time, specific reason.
So the door knocking in the street, that could be kind of eliminated.
Well, you could, except you'd have
How do
to,
you prove it, right?
well, the issue would be is, depending on what they dropped off, it's not gonna be something that's gonna go to every door in the neighborhood. So it's not like a regular flyer, right? So yes, in that
Because
case,
that could happen where you're
Yeah, you-
flyering a neighborhood,
and you just, yeah, and
it just so happens.
just so happens, and that's what some of the agents, well, I was just door knocking the street, that's great, because I've lucked out, but once you see the package or the email,
You
it
don't-
usually will say something in there about, oh, I see your house didn't sell, sorry about that, let me explain to you what I could do. So if you're going to do something like that, and your consumer is like going to say, okay, you know what, I'm okay with that. And when that comes, I'll definitely let you know.
That's good to know, and I think that's where we failed. We didn't really explain that to the
Yeah.
seller, saying, hey, by the way, we have this contract. If somebody calls or knocks on your door, get that information, let me know the details, and then we can.
Because, it states right on, and that is information to every realtor, that states, do not contact after termination or after expire or after. They do not, and it says right there. So unfortunately, some people do break the rules.
Yeah.
And if someone does come to your door or send you an email or gives you a phone call, I respectfully would request that you get the information, let me know what happened, so we can actually deal with it internally, so that it brings the professionalism up in our industry, not doing what these people are doing, which is against the rules.
Yeah,
That's how I explain it.
yeah, and that's a good point, yeah.
But you have to let the consumer know, because they don't know any different.
Or we had one where a good friend of mine was using a good friend of ours as an agent, and they had their house listed, and then somebody did knock on the door and say, say, oh, I can sell this house. And it's like, well, we're already under contract. Oh, don't worry about that. We can terminate that contract. You can list with me. And she was like, no, thank you. Close the door. And I'm like, you should have gotten their business card.
Yeah.
Because I for sure would have pursued that. I would have
Yeah.
given it to my friend and say, hey, call.
And if they have a Ring doorbell camera, that would have been recorded.
That
Majority
would-
of people now have.
And they didn't, unfortunately.
Oh,
Yeah.
always grab that video.
Yeah, but we're seeing that more in the Brampton area mostly, Caledon for sure, very aggressive, very, I don't blame them, they're hungry agents and they want to get a listing
But
going,
very proper, yeah, don't break the rules to.
but they're
But
breaking the
do it.
rules.
They'll do it. People, they'll always be there.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, it's not going to stop it, but if you have prepped your consumer that this is going to happen, despite what you put on the form, unfortunately, we do have people in the industry that violate the rules. And I always preface it that way, and obviously not somebody that I would recommend anybody deal with it if they're quite happy to violate the rules. I just would ask that, help us in, just gathering up and just making a quick note of the situation so that we can deal with it internally within the board. And be surprised how many consumers go, oh, I didn't know that was against the rules. I said, yeah, that's right, because it's consumer privacy protection. And so they will help. Some don't, depending on what your relationship is with them. But then that's where just really explaining to the consumer, like, this is what could happen and probably will happen in all aspects. So. What's anybody getting any fallout from consumers that are going, I'm just not sure what to do? Buyers going, hey, I think I'm gonna wait.
Have a few.
Do you?
In March now.
Okay.
They were supposed to do it after the holidays. that will
Okay.
list their house in March.
So a seller waiting,
So
okay,
they're elderly couple, elderly people, if you remember, I told you,
Yeah.
they're retired.
Yeah.
And their son is looking after them, but they're not power of attorney, they're fine signing and everything. I
Okay.
showed them some condos in seniors area.
yeah,
And they were ready to buy, now they wanna go rent something afterwards. Which I said I wouldn't, but that's, again, I can't force them, so, you know. But they're ready to sit, they did most of the renovations and everything is kind of updated and cleaned up for the house there in Brampton. And they said probably in March.
you're-
No, sorry, and he asked me like, how is the market now? I said, well, it's cooler right now because we're just coming out of the holidays. I emailed him what is available and what is sold. The prices haven't changed much since like September till now. It was the same, a little bit lower in some areas.
Yeah.
And there's about 11 homes for sale, similar to there right now in the same community.
right,
So I said, but in March, there may be 22 properties for sale too. So even that can hurt us in one way and the weather will be better in the other. So people may be out and about to see, but they'll have more choices too than now. They said, yeah, my
Yeah.
parents feel like waiting it out.
and you're gonna get people that are just gonna wait. And it's because, we haven't had a winter like this in a long time, right? Normally, by the beginning of February, we've already, grass is green and everybody's going like, okay, I'm getting my house ready. So that is a bit delayed, obviously with the political environment, that is sort of put people on the wait side. But there are opportunities out there, like there's properties I'm seeing listed that people have to sell. And the prices are, they're being aggressive with their pricing. So it's, that's the message that needs to be put out. And, and you also should be looking at those properties and finding a way of marketing those, because they are opportunities. Right? I know my people are waiting because they got delayed on, I've got one person that's delayed because their new house isn't ready yet. Right? I've got my other listing coming up in a condo. Well, they're in Florida right now. I'm sorry, they're in Phoenix right now. They're not coming back to the middle of March and going, okay, well, we'll wait till we get back. So we got a little bit of stuff to do to it. So there definitely are, I see late March, April, May of being very busy months, but you got to do all that legwork now and should have started this legwork as we, before Christmas, the last 3 months of the year. So even though we're seeing a slower market right now, next 60 days, after the next 60 days, it's going to pick up, it's going to get busier, and you have to be prepared for that. So if you are in a slower position right now, this is where you need to get out and really build on those relationships. Take the time to go see clients, friends, people that could be the possibility of a referral. That's what I'm finding is some agents are going, well, it's slow. What should I be doing? Well, really connect with your database, get out and just communicate with people, right? Because you have the time now. And practice and make sure that your presentations are, all up to date. And you really understand and you've updated them and you know how to present to the current trends, what's going on with people. So there's always something to be doing, and it's all about, looking again at how many people are you communicating with on a daily, weekly basis. It's going to determine what kind of transactions you're going to have. Any other questions out there?
I have a question, but we'll see if
Okay.
anybody else pops up. No? Going once, going twice. The condo market, especially here in Mississauga, is absolutely atrocious. What can we do? Because I have a client who wants to list, in the springtime, but I don't know what to say to them because it's the building that they have their unit, nothing is moving. Nothing is moving. Condo prices have actually dropped dramatically, and even though the prices have dropped almost $100,000, they're still not selling, and they're just sitting there. Like, is there a strategy, or is there something that I can say, do, questions I can ask, maybe tell them to wait longer if they can?
What
Do they need to sell?
Yes.
And they don't need to sell, so they're in a wonderful situation where financially, they're okay.
Okay.
And they're able to make those payments and everything for that condo, so they're okay, it's just, the more they're paying into it, the less they're gonna be making from selling it.
What's it costing them per month to carry it?
Oh, $400 or $500, it's.
Oh, that's, okay.
Yeah, it's nothing,
Okay. Do they have it rented?
no, they don't wanna rent it because, they had a rental before, and it didn't work out, so they don't wanna rent it.
Okay.
So it's just sitting there empty,
All right, so how long has it been empty?
almost a year.
So they've now spent, well, between maintenance fees and taxes, they've lost about $600 a month, you're thinking?
I would say, yeah,
Okay, so now you're looking at $7,200 for the year.
yeah.
How much equity is in the house?
I believe they bought it cash, so in terms of
So-
mortgage,
So if it's sold today, how
Yeah.
much would it sell for?
well, that's the
They-
problem.
they get that.
Even right now, an identical unit is listed for $499,000, and it's still sitting there.
Okay.
Even if we list it at 475, maybe it'll sell, but the owner doesn't want to go that low. They still want a 530, 550 price range.
Okay, so right now then, if you're thinking that the house is worth 475. So if it's 475, the calculation you gotta do is you sell it for 475. You pay off, real estate fees, lawyers' fees. How much are they gonna come up with? 440?
They bought it for 200,000, so
Okay. But they have no mortgage.
they have no mortgage.
Okay, so let's say they even have $450,000 cash.
Yeah,
Okay. If you take that $450,000 cash and you put it with a financial advisor for a year or two, what return are you gonna get? A good financial advisor is probably gonna get you 10,
Oh, like in a, yeah.
Right.
It's a bit more risky.
right? A bit more risky, but let's say it's 10%.
yeah, 10%, yeah.
So if you take 10% of 450, so now you're getting 45,000, right? So now you got 45,000 this year. You'll have 45,000 the next year. So now you've got $90,000 that you didn't have, right?
Keeping the condo empty, yeah.
Right? By hoping that the condo is going to go up,
It won't go up by that much.
right?
into
So if it's gonna go up,
maybe.
right, if it's gonna go up to 530,000, and today it's worth 475, that's, the market is not going to do that. So my advice to them would be, even if you take a loss, like from where you think it was, where it was a year ago, the condo market in this area is not gonna go up by 10% a year. It just
So
won't.
even if there's a market comeback
But
for
until
condos,
these are all taken up, there's like,
Yeah.
let's say 11 condos in that building, or surrounding will have 20 condos, right?
Yeah.
More.
well, in that one building, there's 18 condos listed in that one
By the
building.
time the
Yeah.
lowest one goes and the next one goes, it'll take a while,
Yeah,
so.
Right? So I basically would say to them, just from the numbers point of view, let's take the emotion out of it. Let's just do the numbers. So sell for 475, which is, yep, less than 530. But you're gonna get net 450. That 450 in the market is going to get you roughly 10%. So if we take that 10% per year, now we've got $90,000 in 2 years from now. That $90,000, even if these properties start going up, projection is they're only gonna go up by 2 or 3% a year. You could buy back in the market with the extra funds that you've actually used from getting out of the market,
that's a good point, yeah.
okay?
So, conversation.
Right? So that to me is because what you're dealing with is somebody that has the ability to sell now, invest the money, and put it back into the market in 2 years from now. The condo market, especially around here and in downtown Toronto, I don't see it changing for about 2.5 years. And the reason is it's saturated. Yeah, we're gonna get a little bit where we're gonna see some buyers coming back in, but it's gonna be after this political environment changes and the rate's gotta come down a little bit more. Right? If we start seeing where money's available under 4%, 3.5, 4 for actual mortgage that they can get, then you're going to start seeing where the numbers start making sense for somebody to look at buying versus renting. But with that particular scenario, I'd tell them, look, let's take the equity out and use the equity to gain money over the next 2 years. And then buy back in. Because the condo market will come back, but it's probably going to take, well, you've got all these builders, like we're just sitting here and I'm looking at all these cranes. All of those are going to come on the market next year.
Yes.
Right? So that's going to keep the supply is going to be plenty of it for the next few years until those projects that have been sold out are finished, because no new projects are coming on. So that's why there's that 2.5 year time frame. And then for the next 2 years, there's going to be projects that are going to come on, but they take 3 to 4 years to build them. So there's going to be that little bit of a window 3 to 5 years from now where there's going to be no immediate product available, but there will be pre-cons that people could buy. So that for your particular case, that's the conversation I'd have with them, but you've got to build out those numbers properly and just show over the last, I think my financial guy, he was just showing the averages over the 15 years that he's been doing mine, and it's averaged about 13% a year, which is, pretty fair. So that's where you can look at it and say to them, this is what the numbers are, or even if it's even 6%.
Short term, maybe a
right?
little less, yeah, but
Well,
still, even if
yeah,
it's a low end,
right.
6 or 8%, it's
Yeah.
still
Just depends
better
on
than
what you're
keeping it
playing. Yeah, but looking at that, I think that particular case, or just tell them to put a renter in it and get
Yeah.
some cash flow.
And not all renters are bad.
No, not at
Right.
all, not at all.
for a
Right.
couple of years.
Because they're still losing money.
Yes,
And the rental market is soft too. There's tons of rentals now. Even downtown, I saved my client saved $400 from 6 months ago rental prices. $400 less than what they were going 6 months ago.
And how I would do it is I would say to them, look, I've got an idea. It may not be for you, but why don't we get together and have a conversation about, we were brainstorming on what's going on at with our office. And I was telling them sort of a little bit about your situation in general. And this is one of the ideas that came up. Love to share it with you. Again, it may not work for you, but it definitely has worked for other people. Because I know some of my clients have done that.
good to know. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
We have Nancy, Julia, Alan, and Tommy and James Taylor.
Okay. So what are they doing? What are you folks doing to keep in touch with your database clients that are sort of saying, I'm not quite ready?
Nancy has her hands up.
Nancy?
Just in reference to the discussion that you just had,
Yeah.
when you discuss things like that with a seller, just make sure when you go into that conversation, you say, you know what, I'm just going to try and help you. I'm not an economist. I am not a financial advisor. This is just things that I'm talking to you about.
Yeah.
Because we are always supposed to advise our clients to seek professional advice.
Yeah,
Just
good point.
that's it.
I would say to them, they'll give me if you want to give me all that money, I'll guarantee them 6% because I can put it out in the street for 10. But that's just me.
I love that.
But you're absolutely right. You need to let them know, this is an idea, but seek independent advice from a financial advisor. But it is a strategy to have a conversation with them for sure. And, you know, the other aspect too is like it's great that they're in a position that, you know, 7-8 grand a year, they can just say, okay, well, that's what they're doing, but they're gambling anyways. They're basically gambling to say that they're spending 7-8 grand a year, hoping that in 2 or 3 years from now, they're gonna recoup all that plus more. So I think you have to really have a sit down with them and just say, you know what, here's an idea. And absolutely, Nancy, you are correct. Always suggest that they seek independent advice from somebody in that field. We are not financial planners. And real estate is always a great investment long-term. So that's the thing with that. Anybody seeing any activity in certain price ranges? I had a discussion with an agent on Monday, basically saying that listings that he has that are above 1.2 and up are very slow. Anything under $1 million in a freehold, so semis, you know, freehold townhouses, stuff like that, are active and busy.
I'm surprised because now over $1 million, you can still go with 5% down. I was thinking now things will pick up because always I had to keep the price $9.99 or lower to sell at one time, because more people have 5% down than 20% down.
Yeah, I don't think it's the down payment that's the issue. I think it's qualifying for a mortgage of $1 million.
Yeah, their
right
qualification changes.
Yeah.
They were
So if you look at, you know, buying a place for $1.2 million, $2 million, $3 million, $4 million, and you're only putting down, you know, 10-12%, you're into like $1.1 million, like you're like 10 grand a month.
Your income has to be so high.
Yes, so I think that's more affordability than like qualifying for it. That's what, it's great that they put that in there, but the affordability part is, you know, you're still gonna pay monthly. You know, anybody that has a listing that you're struggling with in the sense of a condo, sometimes you'll see where the incentives are, you know, and the builders used to do this and they're starting to do it again, where they're, you'll see where they're actually promoting, you know, the seller will rebate 1-year condo fees.
Yes.
Right.
Rebate, but it's kind of baked into the price.
No, but it's.
But it makes it easier for
right,
the person
and so the other thing to look at too is when you are doing any type of marketing or you know, price is important, absolutely. But don't forget, people buy based on what they can afford per month. There's many times where we wouldn't even put the price in a marketing piece, but we would put in that you could own this property for so much a month.
Now it's at the bottom of every listing, I noticed. Our
well, they do the calculation, sure,
based
but
on 6%, they're doing it,
right,
because it's automatically
but
populated.
so if you know, if you've got it, yeah, if you've got a property that, you know, you look at what incentives you could put, obviously approved by the seller on in your realtor comments, right? In the comments for the public. So they see those incentives.
Another idea with my mom's condo, which is paid off, I was thinking vendor take back.
Yeah.
Buy with 5% down, no qualifying maybe, or 10% down and no qualifying. Then what if she gets stuck and it's a power of sale, then you have to repossess it. My mom's 85, 88, so I don't think she would want to do that.
But there are vendor take backs in this type of market.
Come back at a lower rate, right?
Yeah.
So at 3%.
Yeah.
People would say, oh, I can afford that for 3 years even, not for long term, 2 years, whatever, just to get them into the market.
If your mom's house is free and clear, absolutely, because then if you look at doing a vendor take back.
They'll give her money every month, and then she has the pension, and she's in a retirement home, it's almost $4 grand a month or whatever she's paying. How,
Yeah. So but again, that's where you've got to look at what product you have
and how to market
and
it
what can you
best.
do with specifically with that? And that's where looking out, thinking outside the box and going, okay, what can we do differently? And it's like condo, 1 year free condo fees, vendor takebacks, right?
At a lower rate,
Yeah, and those, and also looking at if the house needs improvements, then don't be afraid to say, hey, the seller is quite happy to rebate back $15,000 towards improvements, because a lot of buyers only have the down payment. They don't have the availability for the extra cash,
Yeah.
right?
Even the
So-
down payment, they're borrowing from their parents
Right.
half the time, like the
So,
newcomer.
yeah.
First
So-
time buyer.
So it's sometimes easier to say to the seller, you know what, it's keep the price up, but let's do a renovation, credit to them so that they at least have funds available. So if someone's looking at, hey, love the neighborhood, love the layout, but can't,
It's work.
I don't have the funds to do it. Just another way of thinking and saying, hey, seller is offering a renovation, credit of, I would just put renovation credit. And all you're trying to do with these incentives is
It's all.
get some
It's not
inquiries, right? Get to be different than what, if you got all these condos out there, I'd be putting in big bold letters, the incentives, free maintenance for 6 months. Or whatever, but put it right in the consumer section, the public remarks.
Yeah, this way the seller can actually go to the management and prepay the 1 year or 6 months upfront.
They just do a credit.
Yeah.
You do a credit on closing.
Oh,
Yeah, the lawyers would just do a credit on closing. And here because if they use the money for that or not,
that's-
doesn't matter,
yeah,
right? But you're giving them the amount of that back as a
yeah,
credit,
yeah.
okay?
And how does that work in terms of paperwork? So I'm selling something for $650. I say on the listing, I'll give you $15,000 credit for renovations, whatever the wording is. How does that work? Is that the deal closes and now I'm
Lawyer.
issuing a check?
Lawyer.
Well, the lawyers will do it, yeah, but is it a $15,000 check that I'm giving them and then it goes directly to the buyers and then they deposit that and then they do the renovations or whatever they want to do with that money?
Normally, it's just on the statement of adjustments on closing. And whatever they decide, like however they want to get those funds, that's up to them,
Gotcha.
right? So it could be the fact that here's the purchase price, $650, they've got a mortgage of, they're putting 10% or 10% down, whatever. Here's money coming from the bank or financial company. And then on the statement of adjustments, it would say, okay, from here, you get this. So in the money that comes in, it'll actually be 15,000 less. So it'll be actual credit back to the buyer. And then the buyer can decide on, do you want it as a credit? In some cases, it'll just be a credit. In other cases, it will be after the closing, the lawyer has deducted those funds into its separate account and then they get transferred over because then they have the actual cash in hand
Right,
versus the adjustment.
I see, all right.
But again, all you're trying to do with these things is make your listing exactly and to stand out so that the consumers who are going through all the different properties are going to go, hey, wait a minute, this has got something different. That's the whole idea behind it.
Yeah, and I have come across that, and that's a good point, because I have come across some buyers who are at their max, but they find a place that they like, but it does require some work, maybe new appliances at that point, maybe new flooring in a condo. So that could be a good point to make.
And in the past, I used to, and I've done it even recently with the Niagara listing, I offered 3% commission if sold by a certain date. That's just incentive for the buyer's agent to push our house over 5 others. It used to work amazing back in the 90s and 2000 when the market, when it slowed down.
Yeah.
3.5%, but you just like, either the seller agrees to give a little more total, or sometimes if it's 2.5, I'll give my half to the buyers, just to make the 2% and give the 3% to the other agent.
Yeah.
And it used to work much better, but nowadays I noticed so far, it didn't do much. The showings didn't go up much. you know,
Yeah.
like,
And that's where you've got to look at the consumers actually making more of the choice
And they're smarter
of,
now.
of what properties they're gonna look at. I know about you guys, folks, but I have clients of mine that they basically go, Scott, I'll send them stuff and they'll go, we just want to see that one and that one.
Mhm.
Where before it was
They
like,
wanna see all
I'm
the-
gonna line up 10 showings and we're gonna
Yes.
go out, we're gonna look at all of them. So the consumers are way more qualifying themselves. They're doing a great job of saying, I want to see this one and this one, right? So it's a matter of then how do you get the eyeballs looking at your listing? And if it is anything, it's in that first few, right? First few words of the
Yeah.
public remarks, right? And AI, what's AI looking for? Thoughts, comments from anybody else?
Nothing so far.
Okay. Any other topics? One, the biggest one is I just want to make sure everybody understands you can still use the exclusive listing.
Yeah, and that's a good point.
And also look at any of the clients that you have that are waiting and just make sure you are in touch with them continuously. And let them know it's never a bother for them to contact you.
I have seen some multiple offers situations actually, and I've been notified that the seller agent has a buyer, ended up having a buyer, and
Yeah.
reducing the commission and letting everyone know, every other agents, the buyer agents offering, know that this is the situation. He ends up having a buyer interested and reducing his commission, this and that, and at the last minute maybe, or the last day, kind of thing.
Yeah, no, and unfortunately that does happen. But they have to disclose a couple things. They should be disclosing that right up front, that it is a multiple offer situation because they have their own offer. And they have to disclose that there is an incentive to the buyer, to the seller, and that incentive is reducing my commission by 1%. They have to detail what it is by RICO law, by RICO's rules.
Yeah, they do that, but they do it at kind of last minute, because most likely it makes you suspicious. And it has happened to me so many times during that 2021 deals, that
Yeah.
crazy times. That happened so many times. It just leaves you with a suspicion that maybe there's some funny things going behind, because after all that going back and forth, and suddenly someone just shows up and just decides to go.
No, you're right. That's supposed to be disclosed and disclosed prior to any offers being submitted,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
or disclosed to anybody that registers the offer.
Yes, but what if he or she really ends up having that buyer interested later on, kind of thing?
Yeah, and then
Then you get, that may be against the rules or everything, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, the timing of it would be suspicious, yes.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
that's why
Thank
if you're doing a listing where you are giving a reduction, I highly recommend that you only make sure you put the caveat in there that it's only going to apply in a non-multiple offer situation.
Yeah.
Then everybody's on the same playing field.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else? Any questions? Any thoughts on anything?
Oh, hi, Michelle.
Hi.
I have some ideas for next week's meeting.
Okay,
I think we should talk about when there is a pending certificate of litigation on property. I think we should talk about when the PGT is involved. I think people really need to be aware of that.
well, now that would be, yeah. Yeah, that's easy.
That's a death trap for a real estate agent, and I think everybody needs to be aware of that.
Well, just, what's easiest just to cover it off right now, because it's not a long conversation.
Okay, cool.
Uh,
We can do it now for sure.
Okay, so situation is, and this is why I always tell, anytime you're taking a listing, do a title search. Right? Right? See what is registered. And in certain situations, there may be liens or pending litigation certificates that are on the property. Pending litigation certificate is where somebody, or you can also, pending litigation, you can also get a certificate of interest where somebody feels that they may have had a previous offer that didn't close, so they register a interest on the property. And so that's why it's really important to pull the abstract, look at what is registered. And if you have to spend the extra $10, $15, make sure you pull what the actual certificates are or the easement numbers, because it'll tell you what they are. It'll go into it further. So you got to spend a little bit more money, but you need the whole story. Understand that the only way a transaction can actually close is if the seller can give clear title, except for anything that runs with the land, like in subdivisions, you'll have subdivisions, things that cannot be discharged. So they just run with the property, right? But if you have anything that is a pending litigation certificate, sometimes they can be sold if there is a formal agreement that's registered that both parties agree that the funds could be sent into court. Then those properties could be closed. If you don't have that and you go to try and sell a property that either has a pending certificate or has a certificate of interest on it, and those parties will not release those certificates, you cannot close that property. Okay, so from a realtor point of view, okay, you have to show you did your due diligence. And in this case, the agent did. The agent had something from the lawyer representing the seller, said it was okay to go ahead and list and, sell the property. If the agent didn't have that, they could be very liable because you didn't do your due diligence. Okay, so, and then we had this sort of discussion at the beginning of the year and near the end of last year when the new rules were coming in, now that we have all the boards that have amalgamated, they updated all the rules where they're now looking at listing agents need to do more due diligence. And you can't just say, well, hey, that was up to the buyer to decide on. That doesn't work anymore. So always pull spend the money, pull the title, dive deeper into it, ask the questions of the seller. And if there are anything that shows up that's registered on title, deal with it, get something from a solicitor who's representing that party that yes, you can proceed under this particular guideline, these particular ways, then you're protected. If you don't and you just go, hey, no problem, we'll deal with it later, you will be liable. Did I cover all of that, Nancy?
Yeah, I think so. The thing is, due diligence, yes, run a title search before you list a property. But sometimes something can be registered against title while the property is listed and you may not be aware of. which
Well, and
is dirty business, but that
yeah, well, then, one of the things that can happen is in that event that something does get registered, because as soon as they see a property go up, then depending on how long you have the listing, you may want to do another title search, allow, 3 weeks, 4 weeks later. If they're, but the concern would be is what questions are you asking the seller? Like, are you need to ask the sellers exactly that. Is there anything pending that I'm not aware of that could affect title to the property? Such as, are you in a recent court case on anything? Is there anything are you behind on your taxes to the point where they might put a lien on the property? If it's a condo boards right now, they are jumping on putting liens on properties because people are behind in the maintenance fees.
Or doing renovations without their approval.
Yeah.
I've seen that happen.
Yeah, in condos, if you do the renovation, they'll register something. Yeah, right. But those are the kind of questions you need to ask the sellers and document them. Like actually have something that, go through and just ask those questions.
Including the new tankless hot water tanks that people now buy. And they pay a month. I did that in my own house. I said, I'm paying $35 for Enbridge all these years. They're paying now 55 or 45, whatever it is. For 15 more years and it's paid off. It's a lien on my property for $6,000 or $10,000.
Yes, there's,
As soon as I renewed my mortgage, I had to pay that off. They didn't allow me to continue, even though it's me for renewing.
yeah, so yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah, so those are,
I didn't even know I didn't search my own house, but I should have, but
Yeah.
I'm thinking.
there are definitely liens on properties for anything that's leased to own.
And here's the thing,
Absolutely.
the tank is only $2,000 or less, like you can buy them for $1,500 or $1,800, this was $6,000. It's been in a marketplace and news too, a lot of
Yeah.
seniors are getting hooked with that furnace rental. They rent a furnace, but your efficiency is so much better, it'll pay off in 10 years. But that $100 or $50 or whatever a month, 15 years, that's like $6,000, so you owe them that whole things, you owe them.
Yeah,
that
that's the
charge.
contract you signed, that's right.
So it's not like I would have gone and bought the tankless thing cash or whatever,
Yeah.
right? And no lien and got it installed, but
So,
even I.
yeah, so what,
Learning.
there are definitely questions to ask the sellers on what situations, and just let them know, understanding that for us to sell your property and for you to get your money out of this property, we need to be able to close it. And what can stop the closing is anything that's going to get registered out of your control that we can't get rid of, such as if somebody registers something, once this property goes, is there anybody you owe money to that you're not aware of?
Mechanics
Like-
means too,
like,
right?
yeah,
Some renovations
like, is
they did
there-
10 years ago, that was upset, you
Like-
didn't pay him.
Yeah, is there anything that somebody that you owe money to that could register something on title? And definitely need to ask those questions. But as far as looking at what is registered on title, that's doing your due diligence. You see something that's abnormal, what to look for would be anything that's, an individual name. I would be pulling that in deeper to see what that is. Right? Normally, you're gonna see a financial institution because there's a mortgage on it, right? But when you start seeing some individual names, then what is that? Or you start seeing something that is CRA, county courts, anything like that, you've got to dig into those further.
PGT,
Sorry,
What's that?
PGT.
Yeah,
One quick question, if the bank
That's
has,
always
let's
the
say,
question.
$100,000 mortgage registered.
Yeah.
That amount is the amount they registered it back 5 years ago, usually?
yes,
So that doesn't keep changing as the.
no,
As it's
your,
reduced.
that's a good question, because I do get asked, when you pull any type of, anything that's registered against the property, the bank will register the amount of the mortgage. In some cases, and this is where, people were shocked to find out, in some cases, the bank on their mortgage commitment, you may be taking a, $200,000 mortgage, but they're registering 400. And no, they're basically saying that they do not want a secondary financing put on the property. So they are going to register this amount. And when any consumer fills in that mortgage commitment, it'll say what it's going to be registered for, how much is going to be advanced, but what's going to be registered on the property. Right? So really important when you take a listing that you have those conversations, and it's a lot easier to have those conversations when you actually have the registration in front of you and you go, I just want to clarify, here's what, here's the balance that they're showing that was registered on the property. And the first thing out of the consumer's mouth that when you're going, I don't owe that much money, right? Well, that's what got registered. So can you go online and pull off your mortgage statements for us? So let's see what your current balance is.
Julia has a question.
Yeah, Julia.
Yeah, Nazir just reminded me of a question I wanted to ask. I have a client I talked to the other day, and a property that he sold like 2014, 2012. He just discovered he's still paying for the water heater on that property. Yep.
Wow.
Yep. So I went back in MLS and I could see that somebody who bought it after him actually, when they sold the property, they said brand new water heater purchased in 2015, which was after he sold it. So I think he can use that with the water heater company just maybe to get a refund. But am I allowed to pull the title on that property so that he can use it to prove?
Yes.
Can I?
Yep.
Even though he doesn't own the property anymore and it was 20 some years ago, I can pull title on any property I want to do.
You can, any consumer can.
Yeah. Because he
It's
doesn't
actually
have his purchase, okay, he doesn't have his purchase and sale agreement, and I just didn't know
Yep.
whether I could do it for him because he's asking for help and I'm happy to help him. Thank you. That's a,
Yeah, no, anything that's registered in a public domain, such as the land registry system, absolutely. That can be, a consumer can actually go in and pull that.
Typically, something like that would not be registered on title.
The hot water tank?
Typically, a hot water tank, a utility like that would not be registered on title.
The old one were not.
Yeah, the ones that you were renting from Reliance or Enbridge for $25 a month there's no contract with them, they would not be registered. But once you sign a lease to own, let's call it, they actually get registered. The one in Welland that I have, I pulled the abstract, and it is registered for $12,125 for a air conditioner and a tankless water system.
Interesting.
So companies are putting those on, and they have been registered. Now, one of the things to check is, my understanding is that law that allowed them to do that has been changed.
They cannot hold you.
Right? So my understanding is that has changed, that they can no longer register that on title. But they're definitely, it definitely can, some of them will be registered on there.
I stand corrected. I didn't know that.
Yeah, some, not all. No, some, not all. But I just remember something in the last year or so that said, it was Doug Ford actually that came out and said he wasn't allowing the crooks with the registering the lease to own on title. But there definitely are some that, depending on when they were put in, that they were registered. But not all companies do it. So it's definitely not yes, this is, if it's not there, that there's nothing rented. So don't go based on that. Any other questions? Who's got a good listing?
I do.
What do you got?
239 feet of waterfront, 4-bedroom house. Just under, well, it's an acre basically on Deer Lake, Clearwater, beautiful lake. I grew up on it. 1.295.
Okay,
Getting lots of action on it, lots of action. I'm actually expecting an offer.
great. Now, is that waterfront or ice front today?
Right now it's ice front. But it is a fabulous property. And I actually have, when I was flying, I actually have aerial photos of it.
Great.
It's it's right across the lake from my dad's cottage that we've had since the 70s.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited about that one and really close with the client. And oh, here's a fun fact. She was talking to me yesterday. There's a house just up the road that Neil in town has listed for 910. Beautiful property, beautiful. It's not waterfront, but really nice property. And she's like, I was talking to her because it's tight knit community, and she's like, I haven't heard from him since he put the sign on the lawn. And she's like, I hear from my realtor every day. So
Wow.
might be picking that one up too.
Well, good. Well, and again, that's servicing the client, right? And that's what happens. That's why it doesn't matter in the marketplace. You always have to keep in touch.
Yeah, tell them how many views they've had online. And yeah, so she's like, she's not happy with Neil. And I'm like, well, I feel bad for Neil because Neil and I are friends, but whatever.
Yeah, good. Well, that's good. Well, nobody else got anything? Okay, anybody got something coming up that's in your pocket and you're not telling us about?
Well, I'm hoping to list the house soon.
Okay,
And it's in Scarborough, McGowan Road
okay,
and Kingston Road. About 2,400 square feet, 2,200, double garage, detached. Probably in the 1.2 to 1.4 range from what I'm seeing.
okay. Good.
These people called me. In fact, I haven't been in touch with them. So I admit it. I've forgotten about them.
Yeah.
Totally. Year 2000 is when they bought the house from me. I sold 3 condos in a townhouse through them, with which they own.
Yeah,
They paged me through the office saying that, Jose,
Yeah.
please call me. I want to reconnect. So I connected and they said, okay, come on Saturday. I said, I'll evaluate the house, walk through it. They're not in a rush, but they want to downsize. They're really all down.
good. So what's the lesson you learned?
Yeah, sure. Can you imagine if they didn't get in touch with my office? I said, I'm on Google too. You can Google search me. They said, yeah, we found you. That's not a problem. But I'm thinking, yeah, what the hell? How come I didn't have them? I have them in my contact list, but they were not in my every 6 months or every 2 weeks or whatever, like a contact. So I would have easily lost them.
Right, so what are you gonna be doing over the next few days?
Going through all my contacts, even who bought 20 years ago.
Right? So
Not
there's,
just the 5 years ago.
yeah, not just the recent one. So there's a lesson for everybody.
I learned because
Go-
they could have
go
easily
back.
bombarded.
You know what, we started this with everybody, we're talking about, the market's slow right now and what can you be doing? Go back and go through everybody in your database, everybody every email, and just make sure that you're communicating with them. Okay, doesn't matter that you haven't been, just start communicating again with them.
Well, I've been posting on my own personal real estate social media. And it's a couple things about, like, I just bought a house, so I'm using that as kind of leverage for content. And I had a girl I went to high school with comment on it, just to say congratulations, not to say anything else. But I took the opportunity to message her and just say, I haven't talked in a while, like, how are you? She mentioned I haven't seen her in a decade. But it's just take the opportunity when it's given to you. Someone likes your post, someone,
Don't
leaves
just
you-
say, or try
Exactly.
to bring up a conversation.
Yes.
People just say, okay, or like,
Yeah.
or whatever, that's it. They won't go back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But take the opportunity to leverage what's happening on your social media.
Without their contact with you, yeah.
Yeah, connect with them, have productive conversations, because that's just another way to prospect.
Even tell
It's
them, let's go for
different,
coffee
but-
and catch up, and
Yeah.
then bring it up that you're a realtor in case they wanna buy or sell
Yeah.
something, yeah.
Or just start rebuilding that connection if that's
Yeah,
available.
because it dies after so many years, and surprise, it's kind of, wow.
Yeah, hey, like I can tell you that I have been not the best at it, but I'm consistent over all the years I've been doing this. I still do a hard copy mail out newsletter. And last year, after 42 years, the client called me and said, we got your newsletter. We're thinking about doing something. So you've got to just go through all your database and just update it and make sure everybody is. And what I mean, like, go through all your emails, go through all your phone calls, all your texts, all your social media stuff. And I bet you if you did that over the next 4 or 5 days, you're gonna probably find 4 or 5 people that you're gonna go, oh geez, I forgot that they're not getting my stuff, right? It's simple stuff. Don't take the time and make sure you're doing it. Because what's gonna happen in 60 days from now, when everybody's getting busy, you're not gonna do it. You're gonna say, I'm too busy to do that. Well, this is a great time. Cause, yeah, and daily you should be doing something, right? Reaching out to people. When we talked about 10-10-10. It works
It does.
in any market.
I just posted one from Gary Vanderchip. He was somewhere and somebody's asking him, I'm calling a lot of people, but I'm not getting the investment that I'm looking for. I'm not getting the people who will invest in me. And Gary's asking, well, how many people are you calling? Oh, a lot of people. Okay, but what's a lot? Oh, a ton. I'm calling every day. Give me a number. How many people are you calling? And the guy goes, 25. He's like, 25. And then he started doing the whole number thing. Is you need 100 people you need to be calling a day. Oh, I don't have 100 people. You have LinkedIn, message 100 people on LinkedIn every day.
Yeah, it's,
Get that list going. And the guy was like, I guess, yeah. What he thought was a lot of people turned out to be, no, it's the bare, that's not even a minimum.
Yeah.
25.
and it's all numbers.
It's all numbers.
It's all numbers.
Yeah.
You know, it's numbers and building that relationships, and that's what you need to be doing in this business. So there's always something you can be doing. Right? So, any other thoughts, questions?
Facebook is a really good tool. I'm a member of like What's Up Sundridge, What's Up Kearney, What's Up whatever around here that you guys don't know where it is. But people, I've literally had 3 listings from people that say, I saw you on What's Up Sundridge. And I see that you're really involved in the community. So I wanted to reach out to you because I have seen your billboards, but I see you're involved in the community. So I
Yeah.
mean, the What's Up Facebook pages, or I don't know like how it is there, but that has actually achieved quite a bit of success for me.
Good. Yeah, getting involved, being involved, right? Engaging with, being engaged in those environments, absolutely. But do it with the reason that you're interested, not doing it because you think you're going to get business from it.
Oh, never
Because
anything political, religious, or not,
Yeah,
no, stay
people
away
will
from
see
all of that.
Right? People will see through that. But absolutely get involved.
Julia has a question.
Julia? Yeah.
So with all the politics going on right now, this is kind of my prospecting sweet spot.
Yep.
I'm meeting with hundreds of people all the time, so I'm going to campaign. I did help some groups find campaign offices, so there's been a lot of goodwill in a bunch of different ridings in the Toronto area, and the MPs are pretty thankful. And I'm getting invited to all their open houses, and I'm going canvassing with them. And I'm probably going to join the Kearney team, which is a really big team right now.
Yeah.
So I'm doing that, which doesn't look like a lot of business, but it's really my prospecting world. So that's what I've been up to. I do have a lease coming up in Liberty Village, and that was a referral from Angie in our office. who's been
Yeah.
under the weather. So I want to thank Angie for that. And we'll be putting that gorgeous one post down on the market very soon. I think I'm going to reshoot some pictures because I think it needs a pep. So.
And your point with, you know, being involved in any type of community outside of the real estate side. Absolutely, right? Like it's like if if you talk to Jason Fleming in Niagara Falls, he loves playing hockey, plays 2 or 3 times a week. People in the dressing room will go, hey, that's the real estate guy, right? And
Jiu-jitsu and all that, so
Right.
you probably have community of people.
That's right, yeah, and I do get approached from people like, hey, what's happening today? Or what's going on here, you know, and they're always approaching.
Any
me, right?
networking events.
But yeah,
Right,
it just,
more than-
yeah, like any of those things that but you have to passionately be involved, right?
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. You have to passionately be involved, engage with people, and just make it casual. Don't be in their face because
Yeah.
people will go, the only reason you're here is because you don't, right? Nathan plays basketball. And what did he put on the back of his shirt?
Real estate Nate.
I love it.
So that's, you know, they have their names on the back of their shirts, so that's what he put.
I love it.
Yeah, so, and now they refer to, hey, real estate Nate's open, give him the ball, right? So just stop, have fun with it, right? And just be consistent, just keep being involved and you will get business from it. Absolutely. What else? Okay. Well, I don't know what time it is, but in that note, okay. All right, well, if there's anything else, or if you come up with any topics you want to talk about next week on Wednesday, send it, if you want to even send it out to me beforehand, and I can do some research on whatever that would be. But everybody just get involved, communicate with people, and understanding that, yeah, this market that we're seeing right now, it is a typical January, February in a regular market where there's snow and cold. Add in a little bit of the political environment, a little bit of the unease. 60 days from now, we're going to be sitting here talking about how busy everybody is, so. Okay, so
Looking forward to it.
What's that?
I said, I can't wait. Looking forward to it. Minus 23 here today, but I'm looking forward to the spring market.
Wow, minus 23. Oh, well, you enjoyed that.
You know what, Scott? I wouldn't trade it for the traffic that you have to endure. I would not trade it for anything.
I agree with you. I wouldn't trade it for the traffic either, but I do enjoy getting north, so. But enjoy it all, everybody. Get a chance to get out, get involved, communicate with people, and understand what you're seeing and what you're hearing about. This is a typical, regular marketplace, but there's still business happening, and you just have to communicate with people. Okay? All right, thanks for everybody taking the time, and any other thoughts for next week, send them to me, and if not, I'm gonna have some other topics to go through.
Nice to see everybody.
Nice to see
All
you.
right.
Thanks to you all.
Take
All
care.
right, bye.